Aloha, hell no him to all my friends, families, and enemies. Today, I have a little bitty talk, which may be the last installment in this spot for quite a while, called Flying Through Fake False Limits. Inner work in the ring past knots. This is from an online book called Archons. Fiddle by Stefan Grappelli. Guitar by Django Reinhardt. Flying.
I'm Stephanie, actor and Walmart Plus.
Through false limits. Inner work. And the ring past knot. When you really do your shadow work, it is often very difficult, tricky introspective extraction of mental parasites. For archons can hide fears from you, and of course, as I've said many times, dogma. But what I haven't said is in miasmas, holographic inserts, thought concepts that you still believe the lies are your own thoughts. You see? And cognitive biases that you believe are your own mental functions. Because that's how hijacked most human brains are. So you're going to realize it's an immensely tall order to fully cleanse yourself of these disgusting second bardo dominators. For, as you probably feel intuitively, the entire structure of the matrix is bleeding you dry, not just financially, but energetically. Like financial and energetic gorging ticks. I remember I was getting ready to go to Hawaii for the first time. And I flew on Hawaiian Airlines the day before Gavin Newsom declared everyone had to go on house arrest, a so-called lockdown. That's what we call it now. And he never locked his own restaurant, but I got a tick the night when I was getting ready to leave. And it's very similar once you allow the parasite to dominate you, and the NPD creeps up in your personality. For it's a filthy, the entire thing is a fat, gorging tick, financial and energetically, the matrix. The filth, the scum rises to the top, and the filth intentionally clogs the sky, at least in the morning or in the nighttime when no one's looking. The endless parade of stressed out, obedient financial slaves, the nearly endless cycles of abuse from poverty, suffering, and the attempted forced retardation through all of the siphoning means can really, energetically drain all of us, everyone. And of course, the big, loose, sucking vampire system is doing its intended job. Taking our energy reserves and rendering us useless to our dreams. Very often. Useless to our blueprints or our divine missions, or even the reason why we got these flesh suits, if you believe the idea that there's such a thing as someone that came to help. The goals we share together. Oh yeah, and making sure they destroy, through sexual misery programming and archonic deception strategies, all of our relationships on the 3D if possible. Destroying the inverted psychic infrastructure, clearing our bodies. Excuse me. Clearing the earth and skies and building and living eventually in intentional communities in an era when, prior to 2020, I noticed that they tore down at least 5 intentional community houses in this county. I could count: the Zami Collective, the Cesar Chavez Collective, the Bean Creek Collective. That's right, the red tape of the property managers and the tax collectors and the middlemen of the bureaucracy, the managerial class who has its head up its own ass so far that it's going to follow Lucifer off the proverbial edge of the cliff to lead all the other human cattle / lemmings off again. They're doing their intended job, keeping it a loose farm, and it's going to take a lot of work to clear ourselves out. And living eventually in intentional communities. Meanwhile, the rents and food costs keep skyrocketing. Yeah, Joshua, it really does seem to be a full-scale, wrap-around, careless, loose extraction, hell on earth. No doubt. But that perception itself might just be another type of cage, might just be another layer of deception for those who are awakening. I was searching for a guy who introduces into the lexicon pussy worm to describe Yaldabaoth. For yes, it is a psychic and geoengineered mental and etheric nanotech prison. But no, it is not in total control over us, as it stole all his powers. As I've seen Sean Bond say that a half dozen times, and I would say I stole it from him, but I knew that before he said it, but it's a good point to keep reiterating. And yes, it really is very well organized, amazingly well, from the perspective of a hermit or a self-sovereign massage therapist or a disabled guy or someone that's becoming a healer, with the idea of having radical honesty, truth, respect, discernment. It's very well. It's all been very well organized. Hell on earth has been very well organized against the true spirit creator, the original. If you don't want to use that loaded woman's name, use whatever name you want. Within humans, still present within soul travelers, within the ensouled, what Dr. Amir calls the mighty humans. Within humans, with such masterfully growing, escalating takeover of everything and everybody, they can, Agenda 2030 or the singularity, it grows rapidly important not to shirk away and go back to intermittent reinforced Stockholm Syndrome, trauma bonding with our psychopath junior god captors. I mean, if you have the courage, if you're that willing to not continue on this suicidal Ouroboros path of oblivion set before you by your psychic mind control master, part half ET, half human Decepticons, but to look in that rear view mirror and finally do even some of this inner shadow work and face what is going on inside by facing your whole self. Yes, those parts, those things you're doing when you're alone that you don't want anyone to see, those parts that you're most terrified of anyone finding out about. Yeah, well, I've known that those parts have been recorded by the CIA. That's the truth. So there is no secret. You can no longer live the lies you've agreed with. You'll no longer just accept the little me, flesh suit, stuck in survival. Sure, you might have to do that for a while, it seems, on the outer plane, but on your 30 minutes a week off or your 2 hours a week off, you're not going to be wasting it. Sure, it might be flashes of the original divine reality seeping through the hellscape of the archonically possessed normal human mind that you've had to go through the torturous death chamber of life in this fucking insane asylum clown world. Memories, dreams, visions, as Carl Jung's autobiography was titled, appear amidst the fake mundane reality. The unfuckable, ineffable shows herself within you. You remember a little more of your own magnificence. You'll regain respect even for the physical flesh suit, even though you might have to steal some chicken's placenta and drink it or fry it to not have your brain be totally deficient. Because Lucifer 4 designed us that way. You retrieve parts of your soul for real. I mean, the old shamanic concept or term, soul retrieval, is actually real. Shadow work, reclaiming parts of your shadow, reclaiming parts of your essence that you lost through trauma. Is the idea that it flew away is not entirely accurate. It's still in there, in the ethers, if you will, in the outer regions of outer space or wherever. But you see, when you remember yourself, when you allow yourself to heal that wound inflicted on you by trying to turn you, the brilliant ray of the divine, into a fucking loose snack, and you reclaim that, you see, and it is as if you remember, by remembering that piece of your blueprint or your essence, you get part of it back. You actually regain parts of your true self when you're really willing to do the shadow work. Then you'll no longer blindly obey the rings of dust that pretend to control humans. That are really made by these evil alien parasites, all the secret society structures all the way up, and their amazing technological powers. Holographic intrusions into this paradisical, what was once this paradisical pure, whatever shape it is, torus or snow globe, this experiment of pseudo free will, if you will, to put it on a more derogatory terms, if I have to go there, because I'm not certain. I wasn't there. I'm open to interpretation, to learning different viewpoints. But yeah, I do feel that these essences were given even if it was a holographic simulacrum, it was still to give you the so-called experience, even if it was virtual, of some kind of free will where you actually had that honored, like the holodeck. Or maybe it's real, and the AI is maybe the computers really are the Luciferic. It is said that archons or other dark ET imposed controllers live on those artificial rings of Saturn. That they live on those rings. Doing the work, you begin to be able to machete or use an electric chainsaw to hack through those thick layers of imposed lies in your subconscious mind. This is the work. This is the psychological, difficult battle. This is the psychological trenches. This is the helper in the. I only did plumbing. I was only a plumber's apprentice for 2 days. I got this guy's number when I first got a cell phone 20 years ago, which within 6 months it got a few drops of the Atlantic Ocean in it, and I threw it away in a recycle bin. But so I didn't have one for 20 years after that. But I was getting temporary jobs from it, and this dude was sadistic, demiurgic, and he says. So we were up under this beach house on Folly Beach, and the guy says, "Okay, now clean out this pipe." And he unscrewed he used this special tool to unscrew the plastic pipe, and all the sludge fell on my face. So in soul retrieval, it is as if with massively grand self-confidence, the exact opposite of narcissistic grandiosity, not the fake shit, real self-confidence, because it is based on clear resolution and discernment. You then begin to get open enough to feel your way through the archonic filth and mental trash quagmire and that's been programmed into your subconscious mind, and disidentify with the fake god's endless stream of derogatory scumboy self-trash streams of verbal diarrhea, as I've said many, many, many times. And remember Christ Sophia. Remember the peace that was given to you before the fucking Matrix. The beauty that kills, as Lash calls her, is within you. I mean, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. You might have to eat fish or consume eggs, but you know what? The good side of that power is within you too. The creator, the artist, as I've said, is the art is the quickest way, unless you have a hierogamic union sexual partner. It's the quickest way to feel the creator. So that fierce, rebellious, independent artist and experimenter, as sadistic or masochistic or hubristic as our friend Flex called her, as she was, the Aeon is also caged within us. As they say, the ocean is in the drop, and you are the drop, and the whole ocean is within you. And if you know how to remote view, you can see everything. Why? Because the Holy Ghost, the real one, Christ Sophia, the real original creator, is within. But you have to access that. And the reason why people, all these people I talk about here, some of them will whine and say no one's come to save me, because it's well, it's like this, ironically, you know, it's like the same person said that introduced us, let's put it that way, that it's like having your window clean. Well, it's the same thing with your relationship. I mean, as far as your perception, it's the same thing with your relationship to her. It's like, if you have a clear perception of her, you may not be saying that you want to kill her. I mean, if you have a clear perception, you see? Because the trauma is so profound, especially with all the plant medicines there, the trauma, because that could amplify that feeling. So that to actually face, and that's the thing about these guys that I think is courageous, is to actually look at that, to face the psychological trauma we've been through is just immense. Most people can't, they don't have the courage to do that. But then what do you do with it? Well, as he said in a video the other day or yesterday, it's the anger, yeah, it can be used to, as because on Hawkins' scale, it's much higher on the scale than depression or, you know, when you just don't want to do anything, apathy, and so it gives you way more energy to work with, and then you turn it into art or video or whatever. So yeah, I totally agree with that. That's, you're on the right track there, my brother. So it is, but see, I have never really, I don't know if I've incarnated in these fucking things so many times. I had my memories wiped so many fucking times that I just told myself, you know, I'll never forget her. I'll never forget that the power of the real one is within. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. So that this life, in this flesh suit's existence, I just didn't forget. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I've been tortured so much by these fuckers for so many lifetimes. I was just like, you know, and they've literally beat the shit out of me. Literally, I've had bullies kick the shit out of me. I've had all the, you know, had them throw metal objects at me, all kinds of shit. And I still never forget the oneness. Why? Because I'm sick of endless war. I don't want to burn this down. I want to burn down the idea of war. I want to burn down the idea of torture. I'm sick of it. Okay? So yeah, so this totally tortured, oppressed, divine being, the Aeon Christ Sophia, is within all those who still have access to their souls, okay? So within the mind shackles of the Matrix and those Lords of the Rings, what does it feel like? What have you always known you needed or wanted to do, and you still believed the lying archons in your head, pretending to be you and convincing you when you're upset or worried or afraid or depressed, when they always have said, no, I can't do that. No, you can't do that. Sometimes they'll slip and say you. No, you can't do that. Yada, yada, yada. Bullshit. You gotta stand up. I mean, this is what my whole, this is what the whole ministry's been about, right? So you gotta stand up to these demons and face it. And the demons in your subconscious, and face that they're filth and they're not you. Otherwise, just like every other person, they take over your body, loosh the whole rest of your life, then recycle you, wipe your memories, ad nauseum, forever and ever and ever. And no, Chuck, that's the evil twin forcing you into wishful thinking. That's the lying side of your Gemini that hasn't healed. They didn't shut down the moon. Do you see the moon in the sky right now? Well, that means that there's in my opinion, about 96% chance they're still electrocuting out these essences to keep the fucking farm going. So instead of identifying with this filth, if you're willing to do that shadow work, you'll notice these thoughts are of the imposter, the dweller on the threshold, it's called, The fuckers who wipe all our memories want you for louche. They don't want you to ever see the whole view and escape. They don't want you to live out your dream. They don't want, and if you do, they're going to send in armies of archons to feed off your children and make them inverted and sick. The more wealth you have, the more of these filthy mongrels will be on you. At some point, you might seek allies in the plant medicine community. But that can be very dangerous if you rely on it too much, like I have for many years. I mean, on the other token, it can temporarily get rid of your C, or temporarily get rid of every mental illness, if not exasperate it. Will you try microdosing daily for a while, or a big hero dose of psilocybin to blast yourself out of bullshit fake identity of the little me stuck in fucking survival in the flesh suit. I had this young shaman last year telling me, it was at the beginning of this year. Shit, it's been a long year. Yeah, I think it was this early spring maybe. He was telling me that I just need to get out of my body. You see, after the hermit and a cocoon phase for, like probably around a decade or so, it's such a long duration to stay by yourself, especially in this year. For me, a long phase has to come some social reintegrating, especially after the traffic accident where I broke the 15 bones and healing them in a year or 6 months, and then beginning exactly a year later this channel. So was my way of beginning this process, you see. Just having the courage to press this one button on the chat in my friend's live stream on my cell phone, just having the courage just to press this one button to talk online live. It's a little small step. It's a small step for the man or the man boy, but it's a larger step to overcome the shadow, the archon. The possession of the normal human condition is to be afraid of expansion, afraid of speaking out, afraid of freedom. So one could say that my Mercury in Capricorn retrograde inspired me to make the Yahweh series to limit the audience. Self-limitation. You see that a lot of humans, we do things to create self-created limitations to fuck our own self up. And that's one reason you see the dark side leaves me alone, because they recognize I have that program built in, that archetype. However, I'm not going to push it too far when the encroachment increases as I go live to balance the scales of psychological warfare, as it were. Someone's building a house next to me here, so and it's such a great and empowering relief when you do a little bit of your shadow work, even to face one of your fears. Like for me, it's been several different fears I've faced this year that were implanted into my subconscious, to visit places I've never been, to go live. I wasn't afraid of it. It's just laying it all bare, laying yourself out there in the moment. I'm reading written notes still on this video, so even though you don't see my face in the old routine. So yeah, it's just it's sort of like, and also one thing my friends on YouTube do that I don't want to say I imitated them, but I tried it out, and that's just making raw rants. And so yeah, it's just, that is another thing that I needed a little bit to build my self-confidence and to overturn my shadow, to do that, you see. So recently I finally joined two of my friends on their YouTube live streams. Funnily, they are both Capricorn sun signs, aware of how most of us are financially or socially stuck, and they have oneness conscious and compassion on that. They still use the alphabet system or YouTube to bring awakening concepts, truth, and healers to the people through the magic of YouTube live streaming. Rob started his call-in show. I called him the first one. Typical skeptic 2.0. Years ago, a personal feel to be Years ago, a person I feel to be a weird UCSC graduate. She was a graduate student handler, literally. Alcoholic, beeraholic, or whatever. She'd come and, it's kind of sad, I shouldn't even say it probably, but she'd come back every couple of years and until she was about 37 and seduce a graduate student and provide nice
dank beer, and kind of sad. And I kind of thought she was an agent, and I'm pretty sure she's some kind of Illuminati, kind of like sort of scare agent. And but she once told me, Trey, she pretended to be one of my friends. You know, she always pretended to be my friend, especially when I was younger. So because I met her when I first got to Santa Cruz, and I was like 26 or whatever. So she once told me, Trey, I think your biggest problem is your fear of success. So I've definitely contemplated that a lot in the, 20 years since she said it. And, but you know what? Failure, poverty, disease, and a lot of hero narcissists in my history, or, several, like 3 hero narcissists, or even probably a half dozen, which is way too many, has made me feel a real disgust. Still, I'm still working through the idea that I even give a fuck about it, because the truth is, aside from being bribed to remain small and sick, I considered all of that shamanic initiation, like, all of this, like the idea of all the limits that were imposed on me, the idea that I'm a disease, the idea that I'm a homeless or a houseless, or I'm a lesser piece of shit because I stay in this pup tent. Yeah, it does make me feel like a lesser piece of shit to be in a pup tent. But the thing is that to me, the world, the devil, the financiers, the 1%, are psychically and morally lesser pieces of shit. Especially if they're going to go after said person in the tent or whoever. And they're going to form vigilante groups to get rid of every single gypsy. So if you're building this house over there and you can hear me, man, I don't know, you better put up a fucking security camera too while you're at it, man. And so the truth is, aside, that, well, as soon as I found my deadly illness when I was 19, I found a book being on the $1 sale rack at the library in Somerville. It was a big glossy 8.5 by 11 Time Life book about how shamans would get an illness when they'd get initiated, and so I figured if it didn't kill me that I was getting initiated. The truth is, the more I've learned, the more I was disgusted, not afraid, as far as what I learned about the wealthy, the elite, the 1%, the idea of making it big. The more I learned what success in this hijacked world meant, the more I wanted to piss on the devil's head rather than comply or sign my soul over to the Rainmaker. Was I addicted to the prestige and codependency of collapsed narcissism, or survival beast mode and its littleness and codependency? What a psychically horrific false self-invention. No, I realized achievement of my true goals would be surely obscured by success. Like if I tried to live here, the property tax would be so insane. Even if I got legal access to this place, even if they honored it, even though there's not a box here because of the length that I've been here, and they said, okay, we're going to honor it. And this guy over here is building the house is going to have to pay me some property tax. No, I'm just kidding. No. Well then, you know what? The state of California and Bill Gates want me to know about that because they want the money. They want that. They want to say, oh yeah, okay, well you can stay in this campsite, but it's going to be $750 a month property tax because it's such a sexy place, right? Half this body's life ago, I realized how evil and stupid and pathetic it would be to be in the club, as George Carlin calls it, the big club, being on the list. Getting into the bigger picture, studying astrology, I said to myself, the rings of Saturn symbolize limitations. You know, I was 19 years old. I spent about 2 years really studying astrology deeply, a little bit, and the writers of the books I read said that the rings of Saturn represent your limitations, right? So, yet, if you look real carefully, they are made entirely of space dust, or, you know, some say the archons, the false self gods, they built them. They actually built them. As emanations of the Aeon Sophia, we are rays of divinity in temporary flesh suits. Thus, probably all limitations are just dust, lies, bullshit, matrix, hologram, thought prisons. You know, or if you identify so strongly with this experience, portions of your clay and fire flesh suit, so well absorbed, you know, this bullshit matrix hologram thought prison, so well orchestrated by the man. Isn't there more to your mind than this? Isn't there more to me than just trying to explain the basics of what's going on, keeping this flesh suit alive? So when I saw that Joshua had asked me to visit on his live stream in an email later on in the day, after I'd already chosen to go on there, like, you know, how the synchronicity works, or how things are lined up, you know, because they want me to become a, you know, antinatalist, probably. It was as if the multiverse was helping me do the shadow work, you know, to look at it in from another perspective. Like, I chose to finally go on the live stream without, I hadn't even seen that he emailed me telling me that he wanted me to go on, asking me. So I totally given me permission even that first time. So just this one little thing, clicking on his link to the StreamYard in the chat, that one little tiny little thing, it's just an example of making a different decision to overcome the fear or the bullshit. You know, going on YouTube, you know, and I'm not saying that I was aware of it consciously. I had to feel comfortable with it long enough. I listened to enough different ones, and there's some of them I wouldn't have wanted to go on, but then, you know, recently, you know, he's learned how to keep it. Especially, you know, I thought it was beautiful that when Cooler Ice called in, because he's so passionate about some of the same topics that I discuss here. And it was as if the multiverse was helping me to do the shadow work. You know, if you're really willing and able to do that shadow work, you know, then yeah, then she will help you, the inner spirit. I once again destroyed part of my shadow's self-imposed false limitations. You know, and you can do like me and just do it a little bit at a time. At first, it often seems impossible, as the parasites want you stuck in feeding them the constant loosh of littleness. And you'll take notice, if you try to move away, if you try to change your job, if you try to leave your vampiric lover or your vampiric, you know, bloodkin, man, the archons are going to flip the fuck out and get real angry and real loud and knock shit over, cause accidents, cuss you out, try to stop you, cancel your plane ticket, all kinds of shit. Because they want you stuck in the littleness and the trauma bond to that perverse narcissist freak. Yet, outside of hell, we know that beliefs and coercive lies are bullshit. And if this person is not intimidated by me doing this, and they're still going to build their house there, then hey, maybe they're okay. You know, either that or I'll just have to come back to nothing again. Fine. So as you destroy a fear, notice how it feels. Oh, such a massive relief. And those fuckers aren't feeding on that fear. Oh, so nice. It is often so difficult as fears hide from us in our subconscious. How can you heal something you were fucking way too afraid to even admit exist? This question will stump all but the most serious soul travelers. As a young person, I thought if I can fly fast enough with clarity of discernment, like really the clear Buddha mind and really fly fast enough, I can fly right through those dust-based rings of thought created false limitations. But I didn't know about the hexagram or cube tech actually within Saturn. Also, shadow work requires noticing these hidden fears, these objects that you can't see in the rearview mirror, with the driving analogy, if you will. This place isn't only a psychological hell, but it takes a lot of mental and spiritual courage and strength to see most limits are lies. Dust to escape, bars of the mental mind cage. Start small. Harmlessly destroy a little fear. Like putting myself out there live, not just these pre-recorded talks. Not that I was afraid of it or aware of it, but I was just procrastinating on it because I told myself, I can't do that until I have a legal box, right? So I just jumped on my friends' live streams. Or when I traveled to Gulfport for the first time. Overcoming the fake-ass, false self-imposed shackles of the violent cutting rings of Saturn in your subconscious mind can be very difficult. Because there's even, some say, often these physical implants, but definitely hologramic implants, and probably all of us, if not 99.9% of us. Yet simple and way easier as you actually do the inner work. Eventually, you'll essentially learn that you are the creator of your capacities and limitations, really, for reals, for actuality. If you're really strong, without all the fear, you'll remember who your true boss is, and it's not the fucking person who whips you, and it's not the person who steals your energy all the time, and it's not the person or beings who made you a slave, and it's not the persons or beings who made you bleed every 28 days or cause others to bleed. Nope. Not a guilt-tripping Anunnaki. You'll know yourself like in the movie The Wizard of Oz. The big bad ring pass knot is just the barbed-wired pleroma. What's called the Nephilium reversal grid. The actual etheric prison. Cage. Digital electronic fence. The Truman Show shell. The snow globe that holds us in. The booby-trapped ceiling of the Truman Show. Control freak gods are usurpers. The respectful divine cannot remain caged. The enlightened beings can fly right through the bullshit lords of entrapment and reclaim freedom.